In today's video, I want to talk you through how we got rid of a lifetime of accumulated stuff. So first of all, this process, as I've documented in another video slightly, was not something that has happened recently. This has really been over, I'm going to say approximately 8 years at this point. What I want to illustrate in the first part of this video is some of the tools and resources that we have used to make this possible, and then give you a little bit of feedback about what I thought about those different tools and resources. The first thing that I'd like to say is when it comes to decluttering, which is a very big buzzword that I see a lot, and there's a lot of discussion around decluttering, I think that there is not nearly enough discussion around the concept of if you're going to declutter your life, one, what happens to those items when you declutter them? And two, if you do not curb the consumerism that caused the problem in the first place and you're just opening up Pandora's box to consume more and more stuff and continuously and endlessly add to the cycle of waste, then you're really probably not accomplishing exactly what you're looking for. And there are ways that you can use these sites not only to reduce the initial consumption through the idea of using or buying secondhand. I've talked a little bit about this in other videos as well. When I first started this process years ago, I'm a little bit ashamed to admit that the primary way in which I did this was through just donating huge volumes of items. I didn't know then what I know now, which is that approximately 75% of everything that I donated probably still ended up in the landfill, which is a tragedy. And I've talked a little bit about this idea of what I call unbuying. So think of it sort of as penance for your consumerism. It's so much better if you can find a new home for the items that you have decided you no longer need or want, if they are still in usable condition. Trash is trash, but you might want to consider the whole life cycle of the things that you consume and their longevity so that you produce less trash, if you will. But here's an example of how I like to think about unbuying. Unbuying is the idea that you either give to someone or sell to someone the items that you no longer need so that you have more of a guarantee that that item is actually going to be used. There's a lot of personal satisfaction for me when someone walks into my house and they're like, oh, I love your blank. And I'm like, take it, it's yours. We're not going to need it in a year. If you love it, we would love for you to have it. And this concept sort of aligns with an idea of a book that I have read and that you might consider reading called Swedish Death Cleaning, which I will admit is probably the worst title ever. It's incredibly morbid. The concept in it is quite good. One concept is that you are trying not to burden your loved ones with dealing with the mountain of your possessions when your life comes to an end. This would align with the idea of getting rid of things before that time comes, or even better, if there are things that you intend to leave to your loved ones when you pass, why not give it to them while you're alive so that they can use and enjoy them and you can see them use and enjoy them? The tricky thing is you actually have to identify if there's things that people really do want. Like if you have a daughter or a niece that has been admiring a specific piece of jewelry and you have more jewelry than you could ever possibly wear, and it would bring you great joy to give that to them and see them wear it and use it, that's such a lovely gift to them and to you to appreciate. I do think that some people who go through this process start dumping their stuff on their loved ones early. You know, they bring a bin of crap over to them and then it becomes their burden, and that's not really the goal. So that is one way of unbuying, if you will. Another way of unbuying is to sell the items that you have if they are usable and in good condition, and there's a few different ways that you can sell them. I have done in some capacity every type of unbuying that I'm mentioning. One of them is to put it on something like Facebook Marketplace. So I don't personally have any social media aside from YouTube. Welcome to my one and only social media platform that I engage with. But my sister-in-law, who works for me, helps me with these. So she will help list things and we will have them picked up at our office. So with every one of the things that I'm about to mention, of course, there's pluses and minuses. So some of the pluses of Facebook Marketplace is that you do at some level get to vet the people you're interacting with. They have to have a Facebook profile. You know, you can look back at prior commentary and see if they seem creepy or if their profile seems like a scam. They tend to be fairly local, so you don't have to worry about shipping, etc. A lot of people are creeped out by the idea of someone coming to their home or place of work, but I personally generally do it at work so that there's other people around. I have coworkers around, there's other people in the building, and so on and so forth. But you can also arrange to meet at like a police station or a gas station or a big box store so that there's a crowd around and you don't feel vulnerable in that way. However, big negative is people don't always show up. And when they don't show up and you've driven somewhere, it is quite annoying. Additionally, something for every site I'm discussing in this video, it always surprises me what things people desire and what they don't, because they never align with what I think has value. Like I have had gorgeous pieces of antique furniture that I just thought were the most lovely, valuable things, and nobody wants them. And then I'll have this ugly little particle board end table and it flies. The moral of that story is list it and see what happens. Now, if you have time to wait that out, so like for us, this process started 8 years ago, and when we decided to go on our sabbatical, adult gap year, whatever we're calling it this week, we had 2 years, and we still have 1 more year to do this. So we have some time to do this in a relatively slow way. Another one that I've recently tried a bit is something called Poshmark. Now there's a few other companies that are very similar to this, and they are like online consignment shops. And I've had some success, and I've found that you make more per item than bringing it to a traditional consignment shop, but you have the difficulty and inconvenience of mailing and the whole interaction between the customer. So depending on what's important to you, online consignment shop might just not be worth the effort, and bringing it to a local consignment shop might make more sense for you. One big difference is on the online, you get to decide what you want to sell, which ultimately the consumer decides if they want to buy. At a consignment shop, they decide what you have that is worth selling. So you might bring in 100 items and they might only want 7 of them, and now you're still stuck with these other items. So maybe a little marriage of both of them would be your best option, depending on whether or not you're willing to deal with some of the inconvenience. This, of course, is only for some of your nicer items or the items that are in particularly good condition. So in our case, we are slowly having to get rid of the clothing items that we can't take with us, either because the materials are not realistic, we have more than we need of any particular type of item, etc. We have actually consumed a few items because we're trying to figure out what will work well with travel, and then we are getting rid of far more than that. So things like shoes, my criteria around shoes have changed dramatically. So I have sold a number of the shoes that I've had that have been in really good condition. I will not be taking any high heel shoes with me, as one could probably guess. So now for us personally, there's this other concept that may or may not fit into your lifestyle, but I bet you there are people in your life that are in this phase of life that you could help out. So our oldest son, our bonus baby, when he got his first apartment, we basically gave him couches and end tables and coffee tables and a bed, etc. from our home. And keep in mind, there's nothing that precious in our home. Most everything that we have, we've got secondhand as well. So when we gave it to him, it wasn't a big deal to replace it with yet again another secondhand item. But now that our youngest son is about to go through that same process, about 4.5 months before we leave on our trip, we've basically told him, and the oldest as well if he wants to come in, to look around the house and take anything that he wants that we have not put in this one closet of the things we want to keep. It's actually very fun to see the things he's excited about. As one might expect, he's very excited about the Vitamix. He's very excited about the Instant Pot. He's very excited about our well-seasoned cast iron pan. I hope he's really excited about the lovely mattress that we have on our bed, because it's great, and that's one of the sadder things to get rid of. Because the reality is could we store all of this stuff and use it when we come back in our next home? Of course we could, but it is so much more satisfying to know that he's going to use it while we're gone, and this unburdens him from that initial life transition. I know that for each one of us, when we went through that transition, like when my husband and I got our first place together, and the concept of getting furniture and getting dishes and all of those things that you acquire, it was kind of scary, and you certainly couldn't afford anything nice. And we also get to see those things live on with our children. There are other people in our lives that are probably going through a similar phase, and reach on out to us. If we have anything left that they could use, we will gladly give it to them and start them on their little journey with a little bit of assistance. So that's the next concept, which kind of plays into the whole idea of Swedish death cleaning, but on a less like a, not so much an heirloom perspective, but like the things you use every single day. So I want to take a moment to talk about what that has been like for us to give away pretty much all of our possessions and give you an idea of the things we're not getting rid of. So we have this very tiny closet in our guest bedroom that we are putting the things in that we would like to keep. And it's not really enough to put even in the smallest size storage unit. So we have some lovely friends that have offered for us to put it in their attic, and which we might take them up on that if they actually mean it. And then we have a couple of large things. One being my husband's sports car and his motorcycle, of which he would like to keep. And we just so happen to have a friend who's an automotive enthusiast and has a big garage, and he said he would house the cars and turn it on and drive it once a month to keep them in good working order. So we're super grateful to him for that. And I know that my husband is very grateful to be able to keep those possessions that he really, really does enjoy. We also have our 2 mountain bikes. So our 2 mountain bikes are semi-custom mountain bikes that we had made just for us. So I think this is a great way to discuss the things in your life that are highly valued are so variable from one person to the next. Like someone might find the china given to them from their grandmother as the most prized possession that they have, and they would be so sad to get rid of it. For us, it's things like our mountain bikes, our ski equipment, the little bin of memory box that we have of my son's, baby shoes and a little blanket and some of the funny things that he wrote when he was a kid. We're all different, and no judgments. You do you. You do whatever makes sense for you. And could we go even further where we literally got rid of everything? Yes, we absolutely could. Will we maybe get rid of more in the future if we decide to do more traveling? Possibly. I do know that there's people on YouTube who literally got rid of every single thing they own. They own absolutely nothing. And I think that's very commendable, and we're pretty darn close. You'll get a video in the future of where we land with all of that, and we'll show you everything that we decided to keep. One of the things in there is my wedding dress. I have a plan for that. I have a plan. I won't always keep that. In a future video, I would like to talk a little bit about what it's like to discuss with people that you love about gift giving, or you getting rid of things that they maybe have already given to you as a gift, and how we have navigated some of that, and also what some of those reactions have been like. And it might surprise you what this has spurred in some of our friends and family. So I'm super curious in the comment section below. I would love to hear like your ride or die. I will never get rid of this item because it brings me so much joy and so attached to it. I love it so much. I feel very sure that it's highly variable among people. And then I am also curious, the things that people may find very difficult and painful to get rid of, where you're like, don't care, and you just no attachment whatsoever. I think that could be a really interesting conversation in the comments section. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing. I would love to take you along on this adventure, and the education and hopefully that will be helpful to you if you are ever considering doing something similar, or if you just find this fascinating, as well as on the adventure of a lifetime that we're going to be taking. So thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.